Why do some people seem to attract money effortlessly while others struggle no matter how hard they work? It's not luck or talent, it's all about energy and alignment. How can you shift into that same magnetic state? By repeating just 3 powerful words that reprogram your subconscious for wealth, abundance, and flow. Say them daily, and watch as opportunities, success, and money begin to chase you. In this video, you'll learn exactly what those words are and how to use them. You must first understand that the secret of wealth, the secret of supply, is not in the outer world but within the invisible realm of your own consciousness. You have been conditioned to believe that money comes from labor alone, from markets, from other people, from the movement of figures and paper. But the truth is far more profound and far simpler. The flow of money, like the flow of air or sunlight, is governed by the same universal law, the law of belief, the law of assumption, the law that whatever you claim as true within yourself becomes the pattern impressed upon the substance of life. When I tell you that 3 simple words can unlock this flow, I am not offering a charm or a superstition. I am offering you the key to reawakening your mind to its original creative power. These words are not spoken to impress the world. They are spoken to impress your own subconscious mind, which is the storehouse of infinite riches and the gateway to divine supply. You may have prayed before for money and seen no result, because your prayer was mechanical, rooted in fear and not in knowing. You may have affirmed abundance while still secretly believing in lack, and thus your outer world reflected your inner contradiction. But when the inner word is accepted with conviction, when it is repeated not as a ritual but as a revelation, it begins to move mountains of doubt, and the flow begins. A man said to Dr. Joseph Murphy, "I have lost everything, my business, my home, my peace of mind. I cannot see a way forward." Dr. Murphy replied, "My friend, you have not lost anything real. You have only lost sight of the source." Sit quietly each morning and night and repeat these 3 words with feeling: God is supply. At first, the man said the words as if he were testing them, but gradually they began to awaken something within him, a new vibration, a sense of calm, assurance that the invisible was working on his behalf. In a few weeks, opportunities began to appear. Ideas came to him in dreams. People reached out, offering help, and the entire pattern of his affairs transformed. He did not make money appear by magic. He simply aligned himself with the ceaseless flow of divine substance that was always there. You see, the outer wealth is merely the shadow of inner conviction. The moment you stop pleading for supply and start recognizing supply, everything begins to shift. When you repeat those words, God is supply, you are no longer affirming from a position of lack, but from realization. The subconscious does not argue. It accepts whatever you impress upon it. Say those words with deep, reverent feeling, as though you were watering the soil of your own being with faith. Do not force, do not strain. Simply allow the rhythm of repetition to sink into your heart. In time, you will find that your consciousness becomes rich, your actions inspired, and your outer world reshaped according to the pattern of divine abundance that you have accepted as true. You must come to see that the repetition of divine truth is not vain or idle. It is the slow engraving of a new pattern upon the hidden tablet of your subconscious mind. Every thought you persist in is like a seed, and every seed must bring forth after its kind. When you say the words God is supply, you are planting the seed of divine abundance. If you doubt, if you say them once and turn back to worry and fear, you are digging up that seed before it can grow. But if you persist, calmly and faithfully, day after day, the soil of your mind will nurture it, and in due season it will bear fruit in ways that may astonish you. One woman said to Dr. Joseph Murphy that she had been affirming prosperity for many years but saw no result. She confessed that every time she said, "I am rich in God's abundance," she followed it with the thought, "But how will the rent be paid?" "Doctor," Murphy told her, "you are watering your garden with one hand and burning it with the other." He advised her to take 3 times each day, morning, noon, and night, to sit in quiet rest and slowly repeat, God is supply. I am one with the source of all good. In a few weeks, her entire attitude changed. She found herself serene, radiant, and at peace. Outwardly, her employer offered her a new position with higher pay and more comfort. She had not begged the universe. She had aligned with it. The outer event was but the shadow of her inward transformation. You see, repetition does not change God, it changes you. It opens the locked gate of your subconscious so that divine ideas may flow freely. When the mind is saturated with the idea of infinite supply, it ceases to cling to appearances of limitation. You stop asking, "Where will it come from?" and begin to rest in the knowing that it already is. And then, as if by some unseen hand, channels of good open before you because you have ceased to resist the flow of life with fear. Money is consciousness in form. It is the visible expression of invisible belief. When your consciousness is filled with thoughts of lack, of competition, of fear, money becomes a mirror of that belief it hides. It seems scarce. It resists your efforts. But when you cleanse your inner vision, when you let the idea of divine supply take root, money begins to come naturally, easily, without strain. Dr. Joseph Murphy often said that you must never chase money, for to chase it is to declare its absence. Instead, attract it by recognizing that it is already yours in substance. A man once told Dr. Murphy that every time he tried to start a business, it failed. He was intelligent and capable, but he confessed, "I always fear that there won't be enough customers, that I'll lose what little I have." Dr. Murphy said to him, "Your outer experience reflects your inner confession. Begin tonight to repeat silently and with conviction, 'God is supply, and His wealth flows freely through me now.'" The man obeyed, though he felt foolish at first. But he persisted. Gradually, his feeling of defeat gave way to quiet expectancy. Within a month, a business partner appeared, a new opportunity unfolded, and success began to flow. You may call it coincidence, but coincidence is simply the meeting of your faith and the universe's perfect timing. Your words, your thoughts, your inner vibrations, all these are creative acts. Therefore, never speak of lack again. Never say, "I can't afford it." Never declare that times are hard. Instead, look upon every need as a call to remember. God is supply. Each time you repeat those words, you turn your attention away from the shadow of fear and toward the light of infinite substance. You must understand that the subconscious mind is impressionable only through feeling. Words alone, spoken without faith, are like arrows without heads. They strike no target. But when your repetition is charged with belief, emotion, and expectancy, it becomes alive. It moves through the unseen and rearranges circumstances in your favor. One woman said to Dr. Joseph Murphy, "I repeat affirmations, but they feel empty." Dr. Murphy told her, "You are repeating with your lips what you do not yet feel in your heart. You must imagine what it feels like to be supported by divine supply." He advised her to visualize herself surrounded by abundance, to feel gratitude before any outer evidence appeared. She followed his counsel, and in time, she said she felt a warm peace flood her being. Within days, unexpected income came from an old debt being repaid. You see, the power is not in the word alone, it is in the feeling behind the word. When you repeat "God is supply" with deep assurance, you are no longer pleading for wealth. You are recognizing the presence of wealth as an eternal reality. This is why repetition must be rhythmic and reverent, not hurried. As you repeat, imagine light expanding through your consciousness, dissolving all fear and establishing a new sense of safety and ease. In that calm, creative state, you are one with the law of abundance. The outer world must respond, for it has no choice but to reflect what you have accepted as true. There is a spiritual rhythm to all manifestation, a silent order that moves beneath the noise of the senses. You do not force the tide to rise, you align your boat with its flow. So too with money and abundance. When you try to grasp it, you lose it. When you relax into faith, it flows. Dr. Joseph Murphy often said, "Wealth is a state of consciousness, and when you embody it, it must appear." A man once said to him, "I've prayed for money for years, but nothing changes." Dr. Murphy replied, "You have prayed to a God outside of you, while the source is within you. Begin now to affirm with deep feeling, God is supply, and I am one with his inexhaustible abundance." The man began this practice faithfully. He repeated the words every morning before leaving his house and every night before sleep. In a short time, his attitude shifted. He walked taller, spoke with confidence, and expected success. Then, as naturally as a plant unfolds its leaves to the sun, opportunities emerged. He found himself guided to the right people, the right circumstances, and money began to circulate freely once more. The repetition of divine truth had restored his awareness of inner wealth. This is the key: you do not repeat to get, you repeat to become. You do not use words to make things happen. You use them to awaken to what already is. As you continue to affirm God is supply, something deep within you awakens, and you begin to feel that invisible current carrying you. You cease to struggle. You cease to doubt. You begin to live in quiet confidence, knowing that supply is not coming to you, it is flowing through you. And that realization, once felt, becomes the beginning of an endless stream of effortless prosperity. You must realize that the law of supply is a law of consciousness, not of chance. It operates with mathematical precision, responding not to effort or anxiety, but to inner alignment. When you affirm God is supply, you are not asking for a new law to begin working. You are simply bringing yourself into harmony with what has always been true. You are tuning your mind, like a radio receiver, to the frequency of abundance that has forever been broadcasting through the universe. It is not the words themselves that carry power, but the awareness they awaken. A woman once said to Dr. Joseph Murphy, "I have faith in God, but still, the bills keep piling up." Dr. Murphy told her, "Your faith is in God as a future provider, not as a present reality. You must cease to postpone your good." He instructed her to take each bill, hold it in her hands, and say softly, "God is supply, and divine order governs my life." Instead of shrinking in fear, she blessed each bill with gratitude, knowing the divine presence was the source of all circulation. Within a short time, unexpected income arrived through channels she could not have planned. The same power that moves the planets moves your affairs when you no longer resist it through worry. The secret is surrender, surrender of fear, surrender of strain, surrender of the old belief that you are alone. Say it now in your heart. God is supply. Let it settle into your being until you feel peace where there was tension. That peace is the first sign that the law has begun to operate. The universe responds not to words, but to the feeling of faith behind them. You may repeat an affirmation 1,000 times, but if your heart trembles with doubt, the vibration remains mixed and the result uncertain. Yet one declaration, spoken with full conviction, can move mountains of limitation. Dr. Joseph Murphy once told a student who said, "I repeat affirmations all day, but nothing changes," that she was scattering her energy instead of focusing it. He said, "Be still, speak less, but believe more. Each repetition should be an act of knowing, not of hoping." She followed his advice and chose one affirmation, God is supply. She spoke it 3 times each morning, with reverence and deep emotion. She stopped looking for signs, stopped checking the outer world for evidence. Instead, she rested in the knowing that it was already done. Within weeks, she received a promotion at her workplace and said, "It was as if the whole world rearranged itself the moment I stopped begging." You see, the universe mirrors your inner certainty. The moment you stop reaching outward and begin to feel inwardly that you already possess the fullness of life, supply begins to circulate freely. Your faith becomes magnetic. Opportunities, ideas, and people are drawn to you, not by chance, but by the law of resonance. When your consciousness says, "I have," the outer world echoes, "You do." There is no limit to divine supply, and there is no shortage in the infinite. The only shortage is the one created by human belief. When you say there is not enough, you are closing the door of your own mind to the abundance that seeks to express through you. Dr. Joseph Murphy taught that the subconscious does not reason, it accepts. Therefore, every statement you make with feeling becomes a decree. When you say, "I can't afford it," the subconscious obeys. When you say, "God is supply," the subconscious opens its gates to the river of life. A man once said to Dr. Murphy that he feared old age because he believed his earning power would decline. Dr. Murphy answered, "It is not your age that limits you, it is your image of yourself." He told him to affirm every night before sleep, "God is supply, and I am forever sustained by his abundance." The man began this simple practice. He stopped talking about retirement and began speaking about renewal. He felt energy returning to his body and ideas flowing to his mind. Soon he started a small business from his home that brought more joy and income than his previous employment. You see, the outer world bends to your inner image. When you believe that life is running out, it will appear so. But when you declare that life is infinite, abundance begins to multiply around you. Repeat daily with quiet conviction, "God is supply." It is the statement of spiritual fact that breaks the illusion of lack. Do not think that repetition is mechanical or childish. It is the sacred art of spiritual reconditioning. Each time you say, "God is supply," you are chiseling away the old stone of fear, shaping your consciousness into the image of truth. The sculptor does not strike once and expect the masterpiece. He works patiently, lovingly, with each tap of the chisel bringing the hidden form into view. So too with you. Every repetition is a stroke of light upon the darkened places of the mind. Dr. Joseph Murphy once explained that people fail not because the law does not work, but because they abandon it too soon. They plant the seed, he said, but they will not water it. You must be patient. The law is sure. You cannot hurry a harvest. Speak your words with faith, not haste. Imagine that each time you affirm God is supply, you are sending forth a wave that moves silently through the unseen, gathering to you all that belongs to you by divine right. If you persist, the unseen becomes seen, the invisible becomes visible, and your word becomes flesh. Never measure results by time. Measure them by peace. When you feel that quiet assurance within you, you can rest, for the law has already taken root. There comes a moment when repetition turns into realization, when the words "God is supply" are no longer something you say, but something you know. It is then that the flow of abundance becomes effortless. You cease to think in terms of getting and begin to live in terms of giving, sharing, expressing. You realize that you are not a beggar of life, but a channel for its infinite goodness. Dr. Joseph Murphy said, "When you are conscious of God as your supply, you become a distributor of his riches." A man once told him that after months of affirming prosperity, he suddenly felt a deep urge to help others financially. He began giving small amounts with joy, and soon his income increased beyond anything he had known before. He discovered that the more he gave, the more flowed back to him. This is the divine circulation of supply. As you give, you affirm abundance. As you withhold, you affirm lack. The law is exact. What you feel yourself to be, you multiply. So begin now to live as one who is inwardly rich. Walk with quiet confidence. Expect good everywhere. Say to yourself throughout the day, "God is supply, and his riches flow through me now." Feel it, know it, live it. You are the vessel through which divine substance expresses. You are the channel of infinite wealth. When this awareness becomes your habitual state, money, ideas, opportunities, and blessings will move toward you as effortlessly as rivers flow to the sea. When you awaken to the truth that supply is spiritual, you will cease to measure wealth by numbers or possessions, and begin to measure it by the depth of peace that lives within you. For peace is the first evidence of alignment with the infinite. When you say God is supply, you are not calling something to you, you are calling forth the awareness that it has never left. The divine source is as near as your own breath, as present as your own heartbeat. A woman once said to Dr. Joseph Murphy, "I feel surrounded by limitation. I can't see how abundance could ever reach me." Dr. Murphy told her, "You are looking to the outer world for proof, and the outer world is but the shadow of your inner light. Turn inward and affirm until you feel it true. God is supply. I am surrounded by His infinite good." She began repeating it each morning as she prepared for the day. She said that after a week, the phrase began to repeat itself through her, as if spoken by a deeper voice. Soon after, she found new work, new friends, new confidence, and above all, a sense of inner contentment that never left her. This is how the law works. It changes the cause, and the effects must follow. You are never separated from abundance. You are only separated from your awareness of it. And the bridge back to awareness is repetition. Gentle, rhythmic, loving repetition of truth, until the mind and heart remember what they have always known. The great secret, as Dr. Joseph Murphy often said, is that imagination and feeling create reality. The words "God is supply" are the seed, but imagination is the sunlight that makes it grow. You must not only say the words, you must see them fulfilled. As you repeat them, imagine what it feels like to be surrounded by ease, comfort, and perfect provision. Imagine that your life flows smoothly, that every need is met before you even express it. When you do this, you are impressing the subconscious with the image of sufficiency. A man once told Dr. Murphy, "I say my affirmations faithfully, but I don't feel them." Dr. Murphy answered, "Your words are empty shells until imagination fills them with life. When you affirm, picture yourself living in the joy of already having what you desire." The man began to visualize himself freely paying his obligations, helping others, and living without strain. His emotions followed, and soon his affairs began to shift. Within months, his debts were paid, and new income flowed from unexpected channels. The inner picture had formed the outer result. So as you repeat, "God is supply," let it not be mere sound. Let it be vision. Let it be living truth. See yourself radiant, secure, confident, overflowing with generosity. As you feel it real, the invisible substance of life begins to organize itself around your conviction. The mind that knows its unity with divine supply cannot fear loss. For loss is an illusion born of duality, the belief that there is you and then there is something apart from you that can be taken away. But when you realize that all things are expressions of one source, you know that no good can ever be withheld from you. Dr. Joseph Murphy once met a man who had lost a large sum in a failed venture. The man said, "I feel as though everything is gone." Dr. Murphy replied, "Nothing is gone but your belief in plenty. Say to yourself now, 'God is supply, and He restores to me all that seems lost in divine order and abundance.'" The man followed the instruction faithfully, not with desperation, but with quiet faith. He began to feel that nothing essential could ever be missing from his life. Within months, a new opportunity appeared, one that far exceeded what he had lost. He wrote to Dr. Murphy, "It was as if I had to lose that to find this." You see, the law of life never subtracts, it multiplies. When something leaves, something greater is being prepared. Therefore, never mourn the shadow of what was. Declare the truth. God is supply, and you will see every appearance of loss transformed into a channel of increase. Many people think that to be spiritual means to be indifferent to wealth. But that is a misunderstanding. To deny wealth is to deny the fullness of God's expression. The divine wants to express itself through you as peace, health, harmony, and yes, abundance. Dr. Joseph Murphy often said, "Poverty is not a virtue, it is a misunderstanding." You are here to demonstrate the richness of the infinite. A woman once said to Dr. Murphy, "I feel guilty desiring money. Shouldn't I want only spiritual things?" Dr. Murphy answered, "Money is spirit in form. It is God's substance made visible for the purpose of expression. There is no virtue in lack. There is virtue in understanding." He advised her to bless money whenever she handled it, saying, "God is supply, and this money is divine substance in circulation." She began to see money not as something apart from God, but as one of His instruments of good. Her attitude changed from fear to gratitude, and as her consciousness lifted, her financial conditions improved naturally. Remember this: abundance is the natural expression of harmony. When you align your thoughts with divine truth, you will find that supply flows to you not because you chase it, but because you have become a channel through which it delights to move. There comes a stage in your spiritual unfoldment when the repetition of truth becomes a rhythm of life itself. You do not set aside time to affirm, it becomes the background music of your mind, playing softly even when you are silent. God is supply becomes as natural as breathing. You find yourself saying it inwardly when you walk, when you rest, when you speak with others. And wherever that awareness is, peace follows. Dr. Joseph Murphy described this as the conditioned consciousness of wealth. He said, "When the idea of abundance becomes habitual, circumstances must mirror it. The subconscious has no choice." One man who practiced this said to Dr. Murphy, "I no longer worry about money. I think about ideas, service, creativity, and somehow money is always there." That is the mark of true prosperity. It no longer occupies your fear. You have transcended the belief in lack. You live from the awareness that the universe is friendly, that life supports you, that divine supply is ever-flowing and ever-present. So let this be your practice. Continue repeating calmly and joyfully, "God is supply," until it ceases to be an affirmation and becomes a knowing. When the truth becomes living within you, you no longer affirm it to make it true, you affirm it because it is true. As the awareness of divine supply deepens, gratitude becomes your constant companion. You begin to thank life before anything appears, and that thankfulness multiplies your good. Gratitude is faith in motion. When you give thanks in advance, you are declaring, "I already have." One student of Dr. Joseph Murphy once said, "I've begun to thank God for what I desire as if it were already mine, and miracles have become ordinary." Dr. Murphy smiled and said, "It is not a miracle, it is law." He explained that gratitude opens the subconscious like sunlight opens a flower. It releases resistance and allows the inflow of divine substance. Begin to say quietly each day, "Thank you, Father, that God is supply, and that your riches flow freely to me now." Say it with love, not as a formula, but as a song of faith. As you do, you will notice that people treat you differently, opportunities appear easily, and even ordinary things shine with new light. Gratitude transforms not only your finances, but your very vibration. It lifts you to the level where good naturally abounds. The thankful heart is the magnet of miracles, for it lives in the realization that the kingdom of heaven is already here. The time will come when you understand that all of life is a reflection of consciousness. There are no accidents, no injustices, no random delays, only the exact mirror of what you believe and feel to be true. When you accept this, you become the master of your fate. You stop blaming conditions and begin transforming them from within. Dr. Joseph Murphy said, "The outer world is a screen. Your inner word is the projector." So if you would change your finances, your health, your relationships, begin with the inner word. God is supply. Say it until it takes root, until you feel it pulsing through your being. When you look upon any difficulty, refuse to speak of it as a problem. Call it an opportunity for the law to reveal its perfection. A man once told Dr. Murphy that after losing his job, he declared daily, "God is supply. I am divinely guided to greater good." Within 2 weeks, he was offered a position that doubled his income. He said, "The moment I stopped seeing myself as unemployed and began seeing myself as guided, the way opened." This is the secret of transformation. You must first be it inwardly before you can see it outwardly. And now you have reached the place where words and understanding meet. You began by repeating God is supply as a statement of faith, and now you know it as a statement of fact. It is no longer a prayer, it is a revelation. You realize that money, opportunity, and success are not coming to you. They are flowing through you, expressions of the one life that animates all. You walk through the world unafraid, for you have discovered that supply is infinite, consciousness is creative, and your faith is the key that unlocks all doors. Joseph Murphy taught, "You are the vessel of divine substance, and what you accept as true within you must appear without. So walk now in quiet majesty. Wherever you go, declare inwardly, God is supply. Let the words echo through the chambers of your heart. Let them shape your thoughts, your emotions, your actions. And you will see that everything you need is already prepared, every step already supported, every door already open. For when the mind knows its oneness with God, the struggle ends and the flow begins. Wealth, peace, joy, and success are but reflections of the one truth you have now made your own. There is a silence that follows realization, a deep calm beyond words. When you have repeated God is supply long enough, when you have felt its truth in the marrow of your being, you will find that a stillness begins to envelop you, a stillness not of emptiness, but of completion. It is as though the entire universe exhales through you, and you sense the perfect rhythm of divine order moving in all things. You no longer ask, will it come? For you know that it has come. You no longer wonder, when will it appear? For you understand that time itself bends before conviction. This is the peace that surpasses understanding, the inward assurance that every desire, every need, every opportunity already exists within the infinite mind of God, waiting only for your recognition. Dr. Joseph Murphy often said, "The moment you feel it true, it is done." He meant that manifestation is not a future event, but a present realization. One woman once told him that after months of struggle, she suddenly felt an inner shift, an effortless certainty that her life was now unfolding perfectly. Nothing had changed outside, she said, but everything changed within. Within days, her business revived, her health improved, and she found herself surrounded by peace. It was not the words alone, but the knowing that worked the transformation. So, it will be with you. Continue repeating God is supply until the words dissolve into pure feeling, until you no longer think of them as affirmation, but as identity. You are not a being separate from divine supply. You are its living expression. The air does not struggle to breathe, the river does not strain to flow, and you do not need to wrestle for your good. The universe is abundant by nature, and you, being one with it, are included in that abundance. From this state of consciousness, money, opportunity, and harmony appear not as miracles, but as the most natural extensions of divine order. In this awareness, giving and receiving become one motion, one breath. You realize that you cannot outgive God, for the more you give, the more flows through you. You begin to see money as circulation, God's substance in movement. Just as blood must flow through the body for health to prevail, so must wealth flow through consciousness for prosperity to endure. When you hoard from fear, you interrupt the rhythm of divine circulation. When you give from faith, you expand the channel. Dr. Murphy would say, "The more love and goodwill you pour into what you do, the more riches flow back to you multiplied." And it is so, for the law is exact. Every loving thought enriches you, every fearful thought depletes you. Therefore, choose now to think only thoughts of sufficiency, generosity, and gratitude. Let the phrase God is supply become your living mantra. Whisper it when you wake, breathe it as you walk, rest in it as you sleep. It is the sound of harmony itself. You will find that even in silence, it continues to vibrate within you, reshaping your world from the unseen. And now, beloved listener, student of the infinite, you stand at the threshold of realization. You have walked the path from repetition to recognition, from belief to knowing. from seeking to finding. The words "God is supply" have unfolded within you like a sacred flower, revealing the truth that has been true from the beginning of time, that you and God are one, that the substance of all wealth flows eternally through you, that no outer condition can ever diminish the infinite within. You have learned that abundance is not attained, it is revealed when fear is dissolved. You have discovered that prosperity is not granted by fate, it is expressed by consciousness. And you now understand that prayer is not begging, it is recognition of what already is. Dr. Joseph Murphy often said, "Change your belief and you change your world. For belief is the mold and life is the obedient substance." When your inner conviction declares, "I live in the eternal supply of God," the universe rushes to confirm it. Every circumstance begins to rearrange itself in obedience to your realization. The right people appear, the right doors open, and every apparent obstacle becomes an instrument of your advancement. You begin to see life not as struggle, but as flow, not as scarcity, but as endless opportunity for expression. You realize that God's abundance is not something to reach for, but something to remember. And as you remember, you begin to live differently. You speak words of blessing instead of complaint. You meet challenges with calm assurance instead of fear. You handle money with reverence, knowing it to be divine energy and form. You give freely and receive joyfully, for both are movements of the same spirit. You wake each day with the quiet certainty that everything necessary for your success and happiness is already established in divine mind. You rest each night in the peace of fulfilled faith, knowing that the law of abundance never sleeps. So now, as this teaching becomes part of your consciousness, let this be your silent practice. Each time a doubt arises, each time a fear whispers of lack, gently replace it with the truth, God is supply. Speak it softly, feel it deeply, know it absolutely. Say it not to make it true, but because it is true. Say it not to convince life to give, but to remind yourself that life has already given. And as you dwell in that knowing, the outer world will reflect the serenity, the sufficiency, and the abundance that have become your inner state. You will find that you no longer chase wealth, you attract it. You no longer compete, you create. You no longer seek security, you are security. For you have found the one source that can never fail, the infinite mind within you, the living presence that is both the giver and the gift. Walk now in that awareness. Live in it. Share it. Wherever you go, let the words "God is supply" resonate in the silence of your heart. They are the eternal reminder that all is well, all is unfolding, and all is provided. And as you rest in that truth, you will see it made manifest in every detail of your life, effortlessly, harmoniously, perfectly, because you have come to know the greatest of all spiritual secrets, that the source of wealth is not outside you, but within you, and it flows eternally, without measure, without end. God is supply, and you are one with it forever.